He's the Blaze TV and radio host. Lawrence Jones. Welcome back, Lawrence.
Hey, my friend.
So it is critical to have a good relationship between cops and the communities they cover. There has obviously been a breakdown in Missouri. What do you think is the cause of that breakdown?
Well, I don't think it's just Missouri. I think it's a national conversation that we have to have as two communities. But I wouldn't dare suggest that it was all cops that have breaking down this relationship. But there are some. When you have senators, a Republican, Tim Scott saying that he's been stopped 6 times, I think, by Capitol Police, then we know that there's some type of relationship problem between the community. How we rebuild it, I think it's community to community, community policing. Actually having cops that are embedded in the community like 90% of them do, and that's how you build that relationship.
I mean, but sometimes we see these cases and, you know, most times the police are acquitted. And oftentimes it's for good reason. But there are some cases where it seems like there's a great injustice and not enough accountability. So how do you get more accountability for police officers who maybe overstep their bounds? And how do you get more trust in the community that needs to feel like the police aren't there to end their lives?
Look, I think it's no doubt that we got to have criminal justice reform. And I think oftentimes people don't realize the standard for officers to use force is the same as any other American citizen. For example, in my home state, Texas, the standard is when you fear for your life, which is the same for an officer. But in many cases, we see where there's not necessarily a fair trial in some cases, where the evidence and the standard is not looked upon the same as it would be for an American citizen. And in many cases, the officers do get it right because they have a tough job, but in some cases they don't, and they should be criticized the same way any other American citizen would be criticized, and that can only be done through a criminal justice system. And so,
I mean, is that something that's top down? Is that something that needs to come from Jeff Sessions and the Department of Justice, or is that something that needs to organically spring up from individual police departments? How do you best tackle that?
Yeah, I think it's individual police departments in individual states. I mean, let's be clear. Jeff Sessions hasn't been the best person advocating for criminal justice reform.
Amen.
If we can't get Jeff Sessions to agree on civil asset forfeiture being criminal and unconstitutional, I don't think we're going to have an advocate on that issue. So I think this is going to have to come from the states. There are a lot of Republicans like Mike Lee and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Rubio that see this as an issue and want to have legislation from the federal side to get this done. But at the end of the day, Kennedy, it's going to take local communities taking the lead on this.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a hard look at things like sentencing and community policing, like you've talked about. People have to take responsibility on both sides and do whatever they can to keep themselves and their kids out of the system, because once you're in, it's almost impossible to get out. Lawrence Jones, thank you so much.